Hi, welcome to the video number 3 of our Plotly Dash tutorial. So in this video, we're going to expand what we have built before and add some interactivity. So basically add some drop downs or some selectors that will change the graphics and automatically. So for this, I'd like to introduce you a concept of the callbacks. So what is a callback? Callback is basically a wrapper in Python which says to us what is an expected input and expected output, and will return to a specific ID component something that it's expecting. In this case, it's a figure. In this case of our graphic. So basically, it returns a figure. So, to make this happen, I previously prepared something to you, and I would like to start that by adding the selectors. So let me just copy and paste this part of the selector here. You can see the code later. I'm going to put this everything on GitHub, and you can access this when you're building. So I'll put that right under the header and before the graphics. So saving this, let's just show you how it looks like, and then I will explain more what it is. So here is basically a selector which is not interactive yet because we haven't set up a callback. And back to the code, what is the selector? It is a dash core component called checklist, and you can take a look in all the core components in the documentation of Dash. You just come here in the component libraries and you have like a lot of HTML components or Dash core components, and you see that here we have like drop downs, drops a list, or multi-select drop downs, sliders with some marks here. And the one that we are using right now is the checklist, that is just square boxes here that allows us to select multiple options. And I'm going to use this inline block label style because I think it looks better in our app. So basically this is what I paste in our plot dash tutorial. So now the next step is when Montreal is selected, I show Montreal data, and when San Francisco is selected, I show San Francisco data. And to make this happen, let's go for the callback. I also prepared a callback here that we're going to copy and paste, and I'm going to explain to you in details right now. You put the callback here after the global div of the layout, and it will work for the first graphic. So the first graphic has an ID of example graph, and it accepts a figure which has inside data plus a layout. And this is what our callback is going to return as output to this example graph in the form of a figure, accepting as an input of the ID component cities, which gives us the values. So before exploring the callback and the function, I'm going just to show again the checklist component. Checklist component has an ID, which will be important to enter as an input for the callback, and the options are in the format of a dictionary. So here I decided to make a different labels and values. It can be the same, but I put different just to show you that it uh, it can be different, right? It not should be the same. So San Francisco is what the user is seeing, and SF is what the value that our app is returning to as an input to the callback. And values are the values that are pre-selected when the app starts, and the label style is what we already seen. It's like inline block. It's like side by side instead of a stacked. So let's go back to the callback, and then a callback, it runs every time an action happens, and it initializes, it calls this function that's under the callback. It doesn't matter actually the name here. Update image, it can be update graph or something. It just have to be under the callback, and it will look for the next function. So in this case, if SF is selected, we're going to return a list of dictionaries. So here's an important point to take a look, that which format uh, the Plotly components accept information. So in this case, we are given a list of dictionaries with information inside. So this is what we're going to return with the callback. So if San Francisco is selected, we append this dictionary inside the list. And if Montreal is selected, we also append this information. So just by doing this and saving and running, we can actually start seeing the interactivity here. So now when it's selected, select Montreal or San Francisco, it just show you the proper data. So here is a very important step. So notice that before we add the callbacks, we have to explicitly say, for this graph with this ID, this is the information that we're going to plot in this graphic. However, now that we are retrieving this information for the callback, this is not necessary anymore, because it will understand that for this ID component here, this is the value that is going to be returned. So this is one thing that confuses a lot the beginners and the newcomers, because when you are inspecting a professional, a well-developed app, you will see that uh, it just say dcc.graph in ID, and the question is, where is data? And here is the answer. The answer is in callback. So let's do copy and paste this and do the same for the second graph. So we will have two interactive graphics in our app. And here I have just to update example graph to, then change the type of from bar to line. And then I can also erase this figure here that was working for the static graph, because now we have a callback for the second graph as well. Now restarting the app, and oh, let's see what I made wrong here. I accepted example graph 2, example graph 2, type line. Well, let's see what's happening. I might be losing some points here. Okay, returning the figure. Oh, yeah, indentation here is wrong. All right, now let's see if it's going to run correctly. All right, here it is. So we have our first interaction in our dashboard. So now I'm going to push you a little further. So what if we have a selector that changes the selector? For example, let's say that we have some options for countries, and when you select one country, it shows cities of the next of this country. So for this, I also prepared an exercise here, which will be closer to real life example, because in the real life you don't actually write all the options like in the dictionary. It's actually you have like more than 100. It's impossible for you to write 100, or it's possible, but uh, it will not be optimal to write one row for each option. So maybe you want to query that from a database or a CSV or some other source. So for this case, let me copy this second selector here. In this case, it will be a, just let me concentrate a little bit here. Okay, so it will be radio items, which we can see here, radio items, that is like the other, but you must select just one. And for this one, we will use the idea of country, and the options we will get automatically from a dictionary that I'm going to put in the beginning of the app, right after we declare app dash dot dash. So basically what the Python code is going to do is taking the country and showing the cities when the country is selected. And when it's all, it will show all the cities. So let's just run this and see what happens. So saved and then now running. Oh, so I made some syntax error here. Let's see. Here I added one more thing. Oh, here. Now it's closing here, and then I have to add this again. Sorry. Okay, I think now it will work. Run again. See if there's syntax error. No, it's working perfectly. So here it is. Now we have a selector, but we don't have a callback yet. So that's why when we select here, it's not showing different cities here. So in order to do this, we also have to add one more callback, which I prepared here, that it will. It doesn't matter where you put the callback. Actually, I'll put first because of the order of the things, but you can put whenever you want, whatever you want here. So basically, it will accept as an input the country, here are the countries, and will output the cities in the form of a list of uh, values inside a dictionary. So saving it and running it, let's see what happens. So here it is. When we select all, all the cities are selected. All cities are shown. Canada, just Canadian cities, and all the U.S. cities here. Of course, we now don't have like New York City to show the data, and also when we select San Francisco, it doesn't show anything because to automate this, I'm saying that now this part here that was before San Francisco value SF is like San Francisco with value San Francisco. So in this case, like the graphic, as we are fitting this city's ID checklist with a callback, we don't need the options anymore. And we can erase this. And also we have to, if we want to something be selected at first, we have to say new value here. Now it's like, for example, San Francisco. All right. After making these changes, let's see if I didn't make any mistake. So indeed I did. Let's see what I did wrong. So yeah, I have also to change here. Let me see. Oh yeah, so because if SF, but it's not SF anymore, so it's San Francisco. And then Montreal. So probably it will work now. All right, San Francisco, and then Montreal here. And also we have to do this again for the second one. All right, but this is becoming too manual and it's not automatic. So we have to find a smarter way to do this. So this is why I created also an extension for this part, which will allow us to add all the cities here. And for this, we have to get this other data set here, which is in dictionary format, but it could be a CSV, and then you load with pandas and transforming the way that Plotly would read. That is a dictionary with this information here. So for this, we have also to update the callbacks that is going to fit the graphic. Instead of that manual thing, we are going to get this for and add here, instead of this, a lot of if structures, and also do the same for the top one. And here just make sure that you put as a bar, and here line. So basically we're writing again for city that was selecting the selector. We're going to append the correspondence data from this data frame that we just introduced for the app. So hopefully it will all work well. Yeah, so here it is. We wrote in a more Pythonic way the way to select all the cities. So of course we can build some more complex logic. For example, let's say I selected Ottawa and I said America, it continues selected. So this little adjustment need to be made for a real world app. But this is, I think, is a good way to show what is a callback and how it will, the behavior of a callback, and introduce you some basic ways to automate the process instead of doing manually like we're doing when learning. And so congratulations, now you know more about how to set up a callback and to set up like a callback that updates another so sorry now you know how to set up a callback in the selector that updates another selector which updates the graphic. It's the same logic as the first app that I showed you before, which you select the selectors here, which updates the table that also accept inputs from the histogram, which updates points in the map. So this is the beginning to make more complex dashboard like this one, which has a lot of interactivity from both sides. So thanks for watching this video, and In the next one, we're going to talk about cool tips for Plotly Dash and good practices and very interesting features that will enhance and empower your future applications. See you in the next video.